allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cole?
Here.
Councilmember Schwer?
Here.
Councilmember Wong?
Here.
Councilmember Nordby?
Here.
Mayor Monge?
Here. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
So moved, Your Honor.
So moved by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Cole. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The consent agenda tonight, item A, June 20th, 2023 workshop minutes. Item B, June 20th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Item C, general claims, $4,210,070.71. Item D, HRA claims of $22,125.73. Item E, special event permit for St. Peter's Fall Festival, September 24th, 2023. Item F, application for a temporary on-sale license and an application for a charitable gambling for exempt permit for the Church of St. Peter, North St. Paul, September 23rd, 24th of 2023. Item G, cigarette and tobacco license renewal. Item H, building permit report for June of 2023. Item I is resolution accepting donations for June of 2023. And item J is Tyler Technologies agreement for credit card processing services.
Thank you very much. Anybody looking to pull anything out of? If not, a motion to
So moved, Your Honor.
move. Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second. Councilmember Norby, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, next is open to the public. We have 3 minutes. If we can, Leah, is it? Lee? Leanne, I'm sorry. I couldn't see the writing. How are you? Hi there.
I'm bringing my father up with me.
Hi there.
All right, is the clock ticking?
Yes.
Okay, so as mentioned, my name is Leanne Weiner. This is my father, Mark Weiner. I live at 2475 2nd Avenue East, North St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm just coming to share some concerns that I've been kind of worried about recently since I've moved to my residence. And I've been living at this residence since August of 2020. So I have water encroaching on my property. On July 4th, we had a short duration of a storm, and there was a lot of sewer backup into my yard. I have a couple of pictures here that you can reference.
Thank you.
And just my overall concern is the damage to my property, me and my neighbor's property, and basement flooding. It probably rained for like 60 minutes, 45 minutes, and I just get worried as to what like a longer term storm, 3 hours, 4 hours, could do in that time. Last year we had a couple of storms that caused the same issue, and it's just a little scary. So
Did you get water in your house during this storm?
I didn't. As you can see in the pictures, it didn't get to that
Okay.
level yet, but it was only raining for 60 minutes. So if it would have rained for longer, there's no doubt that I could have had an issue.
Would you be willing to send those digitally to Brian, as
Yeah,
well as
most
take a
definitely.
picture of when it's dry and send it to Brian?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
You know, we just did a basic measurement from the curb, storm sewer to the hydrant, just for your reference, is about 9 feet. So it's well beyond that. So I've lived in a home for years. I've been in many communities. It's a relative concern that we have, just because the encroachment of the water with a short duration storm. If it was wintertime, and we did check to see if the drain had egress, and it did. It just doesn't seem like it's capable of handling the water, maybe from the slope of the whole entire street.
Is it-
Yeah, it does. There's a low area, and our subsequent neighbor will talk a little bit about that. But, you know, we're not suggesting any remedies, we're just trying to make you aware of it, and it's a valid concern, because if it does creep up into the property. It could cause significant damage in the lower level and decrease our property value.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your time. Thank you. Sean? Might as well keep it in a roll here.
Sean Rivet, 2483 Second Avenue East. Congratulations to the new council members. I haven't had to show up since the new people took over, so there's a lot of new faces. Congratulations, Mayor. Little background history on me. 12 years ago, almost to this day, it was actually like a week ago, I had over 6 feet of water in my basement. So I did have water, and I live right next door to Leanne. At that point in time, the lady had about 3 feet of water in her basement, but she never showed up because she couldn't get out of her house. So she never came to the city council meeting. She never did nothing about it. I helped her get rid of it, cleaned up her place. We moved on. Well, then about a year later, I had 3 feet of water in my basement after I had my furnace replaced. So now I'm on my second furnace. Luckily, the guy was able to just replace the motherboard. Expensive, but whatever. So now, and also water heaters, but whatever. So that was in the last, whatever, how many years? Last year, I was in the same chambers, and the DNR had offered to help purchase my house and then put in a pond or some sort of something in there to help the street collect the water. 2 of the council members said yes, 2 of the council members said no, and the mayor said no. Didn't find it to be a problem. Now I sent you guys a video. I hope you are all able to watch it. So now if you guys can tell me that honestly that that's not a problem, I'll turn around, leave this place, and I won't come back here ever again. I swore last year I'd never step foot in this place again. But I'm done dealing with this, man. I had to buy cameras so I can watch my house when it rains when I'm at work, because I can't afford to leave work and stuff. And I mean, you can only imagine what I go through. And this is winter and summer. Wintertime, it gets knee-deep out in front of my house. The city's had to come and plow the water to the drain to get it to drain, because the old council member showed up at my house. He's like, super easy, just unclog your drain. And there's no drain in front of my house, sir. It's down there. So the water doesn't drain. We have bad issues. And I still do not see why my house was not purchased last year to help our neighborhood. So I am looking for a remedy. I've been dealing with this for 12 years. Every year, there's not one year you can't not find my face standing in front of this podium asking for help, asking for the street to be fixed, asking for something to be done. And it got to the point where maybe we can purchase your house. Maybe we can help alleviate that. They were supposed to purchase the property behind my house at one point in time, but no, they let the Reflex Medical Building purchase the property and put 2 more houses back there, which doesn't help the water issue. Now the water doesn't have anywhere to go. They built them a fancy little pond. The last mayor said he did not want to set precedent by buying houses. They bought the one on the corner to build their precious little pond in the corner. That's precedence. Purchased a house to help the other people out because it was Reflex Medical.
Okay.
So,
Well, as long as there's a lot of history, we'll get together with the manager, city manager, Brian, and we'll discuss it.
okay.
All right, thank you.
Is somebody going to get back to me? How long do I have to wait until I hear from somebody before, I don't know, before I cannot be stressed out anymore, you know?
No guarantee to take your stress away, but I'll get back to you by the end of this week. We'll at least touch base.
Thank you, Brian, I appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you, council members. Congratulations again.
you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Did you go to White Bear? Okay.
John, Mr. Schmall, how are you? Time of meetings.
A friend. He's got a friend for the first time.
First time.
John Schmall, 2750 Chisholm Avenue, North St. Paul. This is getting to be too much. Anyway, 3 items. First one, it's a round of applause. Whoops. To someone who now thought that it was a good idea to put the time of the meeting on the first sheet that announces the meeting. This is 2 months it took of saying, put the time of the meeting, because we had a meeting just now, before this, that didn't meet the requirements of 5:30 for the workshop, and there was nothing on there that said it was a special meeting to move it to 5 instead of like it used to be, you know. You just love confusion. That's all I can figure out. You love confusion. Second item, July 4th. I spoke to Councilmember Wong about July 4th. And if you don't know what I'm bringing up, then you haven't got a clue what goes on at Casey Lake Park on July 4th. This was, I can't say it was the worst time. I've lived there 48 years, and nothing has changed. It's fireworks. And this time, I'd say it was the second worst. It was the second worst because it wouldn't stop. It went on and on and on till 10:30. The last go around for a report on the crime when there's calls coming in was 11:30 about fireworks. 11:30. Cool, huh? Had to be subjected to that. At least the city of Minneapolis had brains enough to shut down the Stone Arch Bridge because they had problems before. And they just said, we're not allowing anyone there. It should be the same thing for Casey Park. 8 o'clock on July 4th. Everybody out. It's over. No police whatsoever. No presence of our police department. And that's what we have to put up with. Third item that I have is that there was a meeting on the East Metro groundwater. No one that I saw that was there at this meeting put on by the DNR. Very interesting, very interesting. Brought up about it isn't someone's water other than if you can steal from the groundwater. You know, you don't have a fence around it and say, this is our water. You know, I got a well, but there's a fence around it. This is with Blaine, where they put in 3 new wells. And they said, well, we had a 4th well that we asked for permission to start, and we thought the other 3 wells were covered by that. Cool. They weren't. And they had like 27 wells that went dry from individuals. It's just, you know, you got to be concerned about groundwater.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
We've
we
had
don't,
a lot of meetings
we
with
got
it.
10,000 lakes, but water is finite.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
All righty. All right, thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Next items.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Next up is the city business action items and recommendations. Brandy, would turn that over to you, or are you going to have Jim discuss that?
No, I can go through them. There's, the next 4 council items, A, B, C, and D, are all related to the Lilly project development. The first is related to the TIBA grant agreement. If you'll recall, back in October of last year, the city council approved a resolution authorizing the city to apply for funding on the developer's behalf. That is the tax base revitalization account to assist with site cleanup activities related to the Lilly redevelopment. TIBRA is available by the Livable Cities Act, and it's administered by the Met Council. The city has been provided with the grant agreement from the Met Council. Our attorneys have reviewed it, and they have prepared a sub-grant agreement as well, as the developer is the intended recipient and will carry out the cleanup activities. So the city will enter into the sub-grant agreement with the developer, and then we would transfer the grant amount to the developer to ensure that the city's obligations are fulfilled. So the sub-grant agreement protects the city. Again, the city attorney reviewed the draft grant agreement and prepared the sub-grant agreement between the city and the developer. So at this point, we're asking for authorization from council to execute both of those agreements. Any questions about those?
Any question, anyone?
I guess that was items A, and I'll let you go ahead and do your business, then I'll continue on.
Items A.
That was A and B.
If there's, Mr. Mayor, if there's a agreement to adopt these, I do believe that you can, with a single motion, adopt both the grant agreement and the sub-grant agreement.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt those two?
So move, Your Honor.
So move, Councilmember Swear.
Second. Second?
Councilmember Norby, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
The third item is a security agreement for the Lilly redevelopment, and I would ask that Michaela present if you have the.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The action item before you tonight, again, as related to the Lilly Building redevelopment, is a security agreement that was requested by the developer in conjunction with the tax increment assistance that was already approved by the city council pursuant to the terms of the TIF assistance agreement. The developer's lender, Sunrise Banks, is requesting the security agreement, and essentially what it is it's pledging the tax increment from the city directly to Sunrise to repay the obligation that the lender, or excuse me, that the developer needs for financing. So as a contingent or as requirement of Sunrise, they've requested that the city consider this security agreement, which again, the conditions of it are that the developer's rights would be assigned under the TIF assistance agreement that was already approved to the bank as a collateral for the loan. This can be pretty consistent practice regarding the developer obtaining the financing and essentially pledging the increment that will be pledged from the city to the bank to repay the obligation. We have reviewed the security agreement, and we recommend, we being me from Baker Tilly as well as the city's TIF attorney from Taft Law Firm, that you consider that you could consider approving the security agreement contingent on the developer providing evidence that the assignment within the security agreement, there's a difference in the entity of who would be signing the security agreement with the TIF agreement. So we would recommend that should you consider approval of the security agreement, that there's additional, that would be contingent on receiving information satisfactory to the city council, the city manager, and the finance director, that they're providing evidence that the signatory is authorized to sign on behalf of the debtor. So essentially, it's making sure the security agreements between 2515 7th Avenue LLC, the TIF assistance agreements between 2215 NSP LLC. So essentially understanding that the TIF assistance as pledged to the developer, the development entity in the TIF assistance agreement is the same as the entity signing the TIF or the security agreement, if that makes sense. So it's more of it's a lot of legalese language that essentially the developer needs this to be able to obtain the financing, and it's Sunrise Bank requesting that essentially that the TIF note is collateral to obtain the financing that they need for the project.
And you mentioned that's pretty standard practice.
Yep, it's fairly standard. This is, I would say, this one along, and maybe if Jim wants to speak to the complexity of obtaining financing for this project, I know we've been before you a couple of times with different requirements of Sunrise Bank. I think given the complexity with obtaining the financing and the interest rate environment and so on, but this is a fairly standard practice of collateralizing the TIF note to be able to obtain the financing.
Thank you.
So best practice type of thing.
It's somewhat common on a case-by-case basis of what the lender requires. So it really comes down to what Sunrise Bank is requiring of the developer. And in this case, this is what they are requiring and requesting from the developer obtain from the city in order to be able to secure the TIF note and pledge that as collateral to the financing.
Okay. Any other questions? We vote on this one too, right, individually?
Go ahead. I was just going to say, it does take a motion.
So anybody want to bring a motion?
So moved.
So move. Councilmember Cole. Second.
Second.
Councilmember Wong. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Come on up, Jim.
Wouldn't be a council meeting without you, Jim.
I really just, I can't say enough kind words about all of you and your staff, and this deal would not be happening if it wasn't for what you folks have helped us with, and we're really excited. We're scheduled to close either Tuesday, Wednesday next week, and then we got the guys with the big fun demo trucks and everything coming in the following, so hopefully it all falls in place.
Oh, good.
And then we'll get something set on the books to do a ribbon, probably second or third week of August. We'll check with them and we'll do something fun too.
Great.
Okay?
Look forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Appreciate it, Jim. All righty.
Okay, the next item is item D, also related to the Lilly Building redevelopment project. The TIBA grant requires that the city have adopted a fair housing policy, and I have scoured our books and I wasn't able to find that we have ever done that. The Civil Rights Act of 1968 with the Fair Housing Amendments of 1988 is intended to assure equal housing opportunities for all persons. And the Metropolitan Council requires that grant recipients that have adopted they require that housing projects with a housing component have a fair housing policy. So I have asked our city attorney to prepare a policy that would be in alignment with the Fair Housing Act, and that is what is in your packet. And I guess I would defer any questions to the city attorney on that.
I don't have any update on it unless there are questions. It is the 2 grant agreements that have been approved. This is a part of administering that. So it's, I don't know about a formality, but it is something that's required.
Correct.
We vote on it then? Yep. Please, call motion.
So moved.
So move, Councilmember Wong. Second.
Second?
Councilmember Norby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is also the parking lot paving at 2579 7th Avenue East, and I'll turn that over to Randy Howe, our Community Development Director.
This is an item that has been considered by the EDA, I think, since probably spring of 2022. At that point in time, it was determined that the piece of property at 2579 7th Avenue is in a condition that is not conducive to attracting new development downtown. And so there's a lack of green space as well that's been a concern of the EDA and the Parks and Rec Commission. And so at the point in time last spring, they engaged with the city engineer to prepare some concept plans that would green up the space in addition to add some parking. And so we had the concepts drawn up, the EDA reviewed those, and they selected one. And we then went forward and obtained some bids for that. Then subsequent discussions with the EDA resulted in requesting what would it cost to just pave the entire lot. And at the last EDA meeting here in July, the direction was given to seek funding from the city council, wherein the EDA would fund 50% of the cost to pave the entire lot for parking, and they would throw in an additional $5,000 for pavers and other street amenities such as benches or possibly picnic tables. The project cost came in about $52,000, and so the city, or the EDA, is requesting a contribution from city council from the 2023 budget in the amount of, sorry, I don't have that pulled up in front of me here. The city's contribution would be $26,272.50 for the overall project. So at this point, staff is seeking a budget amendment to allow that project to go forward.
One additional note on that is that was one abstained on that vote, otherwise it was unanimous for the full parking lot of that lot.
One more time?
It wasn't unanimous because I voted against it.
You abstained.
No, I didn't. Shifky
Oh.
did. Shifky did, because he had a bid.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you weren't at the last meeting, but, so tell me that again. You
Shifky sustained
Yep.
from the vote.
abstained, yep.
Abstained, thank you, or sustained,
Whatever.
or whatever he
Yep.
did, due to conflict. And I voted, I was opposed to the
Oh, excuse me.
project of a parking lot.
Excuse me, yes.
Kept out of it because you didn't have enough. Was that something else?
It was something else. So with that, I'll open it up for discussion.
Yes.
Brandy's right, this has gone on for at least 18 months. The space as it exists today, I don't even think is in line with our own personal ordinances. So we're kind of a bad tenant of some space downtown. When we first started looking at this, the costs were a lot lower than what they came in with. Then COVID came around, drove a lot of the pricing up, and now we've seen a lot of favorable pricing come back in our way. I believe some of the original quotes that we got back were in the $150,000 range. I was opposed to it at the EDA meeting for a couple different reasons. One, the city really truly has a lack of soft space, and so to take a lot and pave it over completely for blacktop doesn't meet, in my opinion, what the city can use. We had soft space where the old City Hall and the old Max Diner used to sit that was very well utilized. Park and Rec utilized it for Movie on Main. We had vendors that would park out there or be out there during car show. There were a lot of different uses for it. And so for that reason, the way that it's written, I will vote against it again tonight.
Anybody else? What was the price for the whole, when we were talking about?
I think it was 79.
But that, we still don't have the answer to where we can get water to try to do this. Did you get the answer?
79, excuse me.
Was the water?
The 79 was all blacktops, and then it would have been a 50-50 split, was my understanding.
52 was.
It's 52.
Or 52,
all
excuse me.
blacktop.
God, I don't even
Yeah,
have that
the-
right. I'm gonna let you talk.
Green space plus the half parking lot was 79.
Oh, okay.
And then 52 was all blacktop.
All blacktop.
Correct.
There we go.
And there was, the big expenses were to catch the water from, and somebody mentioned maybe trying to grab it from the neighbor. We didn't know if that was something because you had to go to the main, and there was a lot of construction that would have done that. I don't know if, found out anything.
So where the clinic stood, there is not a standpipe for the water there, so they don't know where that's at. So if they had to go find the main, dig to it, that would be a considerable expense. One idea that was brought up was to contact either business on either side to see if they would allow a hose for summertime watering, and then maybe work out some kind of deal with them clearly on their water bill.
And the 52,000, if I remember right, they're gonna maybe some benches and some pots or something to bring some kind of green space. Was there
There
some?
was no green space. They talked about forklifting in a couple of
Yeah,
planters.
or some
Mm-hmm.
greenery, I should say. Sorry, greenery.
Correct, that would what would be looked into if we went that route.
I don't know if everybody had the opportunity to view the two sketches that were in. WSB did the first one. I don't know who did the all paved parking lot, but I hope if everybody didn't see them in the packet, I ask that they be put up for consideration. If everybody's seen it, then that's fine.
Would anybody like to see it again?
I'd like to see it again.
I think Dan might be telling you later this evening, but this project is included in the current 2024 CIP plan. So if you vote yes tonight, this will be removed from the next year's budget proposal. But here's the preferred design for that space.
What money did he have in it for last year? Or for next year, excuse me?
I used the money that was based on the bids, yeah.
I guess like one of my biggest concerns is, and this is because we just recently gone through the master redevelopment plan, is there really isn't a whole lot of other space that we have as a city to make green space. And that is that's a concern of mine. And yeah, there's just not a whole lot of places to sit and enjoy or what have you. So I think that could help liven it up if it was dedicated green space entirely.
I agree that that area is a lot of concrete as it is right now, asphalt, whatever you want to look at it, and that green space would bring beautification inside a area that is full of concrete. Not to mention additional opportunities for events inside the car show, space with that, and just downtown walking. Love Ice Cream is right to the right of that, a few spaces down. It's nicer to see people if they were inside Sidewinders instead of in front of the building off to the side in that green space. I just think it's going to bring a little, if there was green space, it would beautify downtown.
Could I get some clarification? Just, I got confused by some of the numbers that were coming out. So going to green space with irrigation is the cheapest option, right?
No,
More expensive.
about 20,000, 25,000 more.
So what was the 33,753 bid?
The green space and irrigation would be in addition to the half parking lot bid. So the 45,000 plus the 33,000 is where you get about 78, 79.
I also see Parks and Rec utilizing that location as well for past events that they had downtown, but I also see future opportunities for events as well on a Parks and Rec side.
Also for the arts and culture side too.
So even though 27,000 seems high, there's a lot of opportunity for growth with both commissions and the beautification of the city.
Does that 27 include getting the main wherever we're at?
The 27 was 50% of the
I get
part,
that,
the
but
full
we
parking
don't know
lot.
how much it's gonna cost to get water to irrigate, is what I was asking.
Correct. We
Do
don't.
not, that's an unknown number. So that's what we have to put in there.
Has the EDA kind of considered alternative like grasses or like green space? I mean, urban green space doesn't necessarily always just grass. So
Well,
are
that-
there turf or other considerations?
That hasn't been discussed yet, but it's something that could be explored.
It's just something I've seen a lot
I would
pop
like
up
that better
lately
than
is the
grass
turf,
myself.
and it's easy to clean and manage. But yeah, just something to consider.
I voted for the full parking lot because of, I think, the expense of some of the other stuff like that. But if we could do something where it's not irrigation and putting a lot of effort into getting the water and stuff like that.
Has there been a discussion with Public Works and Ron?
Yes, they've been involved in all of these discussions to help procure the quotes and
Okay.
They just don't know where they can get the water from yet.
Correct.
I
any
don't know
other.
what kind of turf, like a football field turf, is that what you're kind of thinking? Councilmember Wong?
Whatever turf people use, yeah, at the bars or the breweries, I think it's the same.
How do you keep it clean if you have animals in that area?
You hose it down.
I mean, it's worth a discussion. I mean,
That
it's
would have
if
to be a
you
water
want.
truck from the city to do that, because we don't have the water over there.
Can I ask how many parking lots there, or parking spots there are, and what the difference is between a half and full, and how the decision was to do angled versus straight?
It looks like there's about 17 with this half lot, and I think there's approximately 50 in the full lot. The angled versus straight, I think it was just based on the most efficient use of the space with keeping into the, keeping the dimensions that are required.
The angle, I believe, allowed 2 additional parking spots from straight-in parking, and it also then just kind of created a traffic flow in and out off of Sepulveda.
So in one way and out the other?
Correct.
Does anyone recall how many parking spots we added last year behind K&J?
No.
Because I guess, for me, it's a balance. We have just put in a lot of parking, and how do we prioritize green space if parking continues to be the priority? And this is one of our few least, or one of the only parcels that we have in this area.
We do have at least three city parking facilities in addition to this lot that are within a block.
Well, the one across the street really isn't, it has a sign up, but it's not
Just the one right behind it.
over on Margaret I was talking about, straight across from here.
Yep, and then right behind Margaret is the one I was talking about in Sepulveda.
And there's a Sandberg lot behind there that was just repaved, and then the
That
K&J lot, yeah.
I don't know how much it costs, but I would, as far as the space where there's less maintenance and as far as having irrigation, and because it's gonna be pretty trampled. That's the thing too, is when you got the, people, hopefully it will be, that means people are using it, but, grass is pretty hard, especially when you have a lot of different activities on it. If it could be some kind of surface, but I don't have an idea how much that runs.
We can certainly get some quotes together, though.
Especially with the unknown. How do we find out exact price to get water and things and other infrastructure?
One of his ideas sounded pretty expensive. They were talking about even picking up where the sprinkler was left off on Margaret and 7th here, and then boring down to that site, which can be expensive to get the water there if they,
Especially as we redid it.
yeah.
Because it wasn't a permanent park, so they didn't think of any water down that far.
Right.
What's
If-
thoughts, Councilmember Norby? You've been thinking pretty hard over there. I figure I better ask you.
I think at a minimum, we table this, and I'm not sure if that's the correct word, and ask the city to come up with some other options and give us quotes at the next council meeting. I don't see this as a pressing item that we need to decide today. I see a lot of views.
The word expensive keeps getting tossed around, and I think that's not a right statement to use if you don't know how much it's going to cost without more information backing it up. Like grass seed, it's expensive. Well, what type of grass are you laying and planting down? How much does it cost, Ron, to plant that? The words expensive that's an easy word to use unless we have numbers.
I think part of it is just the water source. I don't think we're ever going to get an answer to that one.
Well, and that's something we need to look at. So where are we going to tap in? We're going to borrow it from somebody. We're just going to make that assumption? Should we ask first? Because if they're not willing to let us tap from there, then that tells us the story right there. We're not going to be able to plant green space if we don't have any water that we can tap into. And if it's the next door neighbor, wherever they're looking, then we need to ask at least. The answer is no if you don't ask.
Well, we're gonna, but also, do we want to look at some kind of a turf where we have less maintenance to go across?
Yeah, the
And be able to
artificial,
enjoy it. To me, that makes more sense than grass. Just because it's not a permanent park. We, hope someday it may be sold, we don't know, but at least have something where it would take some wear and tear, because, there could be quite a bit. And then we're also talking, we don't have any place to put snow in the winter either, as far as that. We're a temporary place to put snow until we get it hauled out, because the good news is we're developing a lot. The bad news is we don't have many spots to put snow. We got to get them out of, and we have to, get the downtown plowed and then get it out of there, so. But I would like to look into the turf and the water. That was the question that came up, that we weren't sure if we could talk to the neighbor on either side, and they'd have to separate a meter out. Wouldn't they have to do that, Brian?
I think what they would do is see how long the sprinklers would run and find out the gallons used, and they would figure that out to give the credit to that.
I also think it would be worth checking into on how often you would have to replace that turf and what type of turf you use, because there's turf that you can put it's like pieces of pebble or whatever it is. I mean, just, you're gonna have to keep it fluffed and groomed, and how's that gonna happen? Who's gonna take care of that?
Yep, we'll look into that as well.
The Conway Center, the community center there, their soccer fields are all turf, and the operations supervisor seemed to really like that material because it was also recycled. So I don't know how that plays into an option, but the other thing is, when we think about water, is what the feasibility is around maybe rain catchment or something along those lines.
Definitely for the parking lot. Yeah.
And maybe even the roofs off the sides of those buildings too.
All right. Looks like we're looking for more information. Do we have a list of everything that,
Mr. Mayor, do you want to make a motion to table it? I mean, Brian, do you think you can have this by the next meeting, or is there? So if there's a motion to table it to your next meeting?
August?
Late August.
Could I ask for clarification? The agenda item was to approve a budget amendment, so it sounds to me like
we'll
you're
need-
looking at not doing that, and you're seeking instead to pursue the green space?
Sounds like, as far as the majority of the council, it sounds like green space is for the majority.
So do we need a vote to give direction, and maybe this is a Dan question, do we need to have a vote to give the financial direction? And then kick the can back down for, I don't know.
Candidly, what I think is always helpful is if you guys want to take this up at, I believe, your August 15th meeting, if there's a motion to table it and directing staff to do blank, so that the direction is clear, what it is you want to have come back to you so that you can make a decision. So if it's more information on turf, then that could be the direction. If it's financial information, then that's the direction. But I would be clear in your motion to table it, to explain why you're not able to make that motion tonight or decision tonight, and explain what additional information you want.
So it sounds like we have two, the artificial, something artificial, and water source that we can talk to the neighbors, because it sounds like the other one is not feasible that far down.
And the maintenance of the turf as well.
So may I recommend to table it? We look into the pricing of artificial turf and the maintenance of it. We look into the water source and who we are borrowing water and what that's going to cost the city. If we're going to plant grass, I mean, it's concrete now, or it's asphalt, right? So you're going to have to tear that up. What does that look like? How much is that going to cost?
It's all included in the.
That's all included, okay.
Yeah, to get it down was the,
And that, yeah, I mean, it's irrigation, where are we borrowing the water from? And
sounds to me like that 79 bid is close if we can borrow water from the neighbor, because the only unknown with the 79 bid is where we're getting the water from. So that's the only spot we're missing.
okay. And then the upkeep of that, I know you had concerned about the snow removal.
We just gotta
So if we
push
put it-
snow.
If we put snow removal there, what is it gonna look like to upkeep that in the spring? Once that's been, I mean, that's all salted snow, so there's gonna be more grass you put down. I mean, it's just bigger picture items to think about. So I ask that we table it and look into those items.
Finance director.
Thank you. If I may add something from the discussion here. Basically, I would table it and direct staff to develop 3 options. One is the existing option that is presented in front of you tonight. The second would be for artificial turf, and the other one would be for real grass. It would be you would look at it from what is the one-time capital cost to be able to implement any one of those 3, and then the ongoing costs. And also, addition to that is some pros and cons, because The mayor has brought up a point, and I know our Public Works Director, Ron, has brought it up too, as far as plowing and not having that parking space for plowing into the future. So there'd be some pros and cons underneath all three of the options. And then from finance perspective, we will develop a financing plan just like we did with this last one, and have that included in the three options.
Now, this is just considered temporary, so we don't have to worry about any of the things that come with the park, right? As far as if somebody says any kind of an ADA or anything like that, because it's not really a true park. I know that question's come up quite a bit.
What's your concern?
Or any kind of EDA, like any kind
Oh.
of, any kind of
Yeah.
ADA?
ADA.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ADA I meant to say, yep.
No, no.
Okay.
I mean, you're always going to have to do things via the ADA, but you're talking about laying down some grass seed or things like that. So we're fine on this.
Okay.
Yep.
Just wanna-
So if there's basically a motion to adopt Dan's suggestion on the three recommendations and table it till August 14th or 15th, that would be in order at this point.
Okay. So I have a motion.
So move, Your Honor.
So move, Councilmember Schwer.
Second.
Second, Councilmember Wong. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next up is 2024 budget discussion. Dan and Mary Kay are going to be presenting on that.
Well, Mayor, council members, here we are again. It's a month later. There's been a lot of work that's been done on the budget to date, and there's a lot of information in the packet tonight. I'm not going to go through all of the information that's here today. As far as some of the attachments, I'll tell you what they are for your references, because some of the next steps that we'll be having, we'll be meeting with the department heads, and we'll go through all of that detail at that point in time. But for tonight, the purpose is, first kind of wanted to start off just so, since we have 3 new council members on the city council, is to talk about what budgets does the city council have to approve. And then from our last workshop, we'll kind of give some of the summary of the activities of this, some of the brainstorming and some of the ideas that were thrown out in our 2024 levy target. We'll review the driving factors in our 2024 budget. We'll look at where we're standing right now after we've met with all of our department heads for the preliminary levy. And then we'll look at the general fund budgets just at a very high level. And then we'll review some additional options that are not included in the budget that have come out from our discussions with the department heads. And then we'll take a look at the capital improvement plan. And then we'll talk about how we're going to do the next steps. Again, remembering that by September, we have to approve the maximum levy. That includes the city budget, which includes 2 components, the operation, the debt. And then we have to approve HRA and EDA levies. Those will be the maximum, and then they have to be certified by the end of September to Ramsey County. And so we'll talk about some of those next steps. At a very high level, the budgets that are approved by City Council are the general fund that we just kind of talked about, the HRA, the Economic Development Authority, and then there's proprietary funds. And the proprietary funds are our enterprise funds, which are our utilities, and then our internal service funds. And those funds are set up like for technology, insurance, and so forth. And then there's some other funds that are set up like community center, community event fund, fire relief, and street maintenance are underneath the permanent funds. And I'm not going to go through all of the different components or pieces and definitions of the enterprise funds. You know, we have 6 of them: water fund, wastewater fund, electric fund, surface water fund, solid waste fund, and fiber optic fund. Internal service funds, we have information technology, we have the insurance, equipment, city mechanic, and the building maintenance internal service fund. So the costs are collected here, and the charges are allocated off to the departments in both the enterprise funds and in the general fund. Other budgets, like I had mentioned, are the community center, community event, fire relief, park, and street maintenance fund. So, one of our workshop items last time we met were to talk about what the city council priorities were. And I kind of broke it into 4 different kind of sections: infrastructure, staffing, public safety, and other. And you can see the most responses were given on the infrastructure. And I totally agree with the needs that we have for the infrastructure. And that's where I think it's really important. What this city has started a few years back is really developing a very comprehensive capital improvement plan. Tonight, Mary Kay is going to show you what we've done with our capital improvement plan. We've picked it up a little bit on some steroids, and we're making it more professional and to give you more information on the projects that are in there. A lot of thanks will go to Mary Kay for all of her hard work that she's done on that and actually introducing the software that we're using for that, and then all of our department heads. They had to do a lot of work in a very short time period to gather some sort of estimates and then putting in some descriptions. Other is making sure that we have adequate staffing and that we should probably look at total compensation plan for employees. You probably want to time that out when union negotiations are occurring. Public safety, making sure that some of the comments were keeping perception of safety up, school safety, and some of the other items out there was internet keeping costs low, not kicking the can down the road, limiting liability and business layout. From our brainstorming session, we talked about maximizing our resources and minimizing the overall impact to the residents of the city. We had in there, we need to look at the IT contract and options, insurance options, the fire department costs and options, police department costs and options, use of consultants versus in-house, all major contracts, grant opportunities, useful life of equipment, sales tax, cannabis, and bidding process. There's an asterisk next to a number of items here. There is a handout that was attached that'll give you further information on those items that we certainly can discuss either tonight or at some other point in time. And then the third item that was asked was, trying to get council members kind of a sense or feel where a levy target would be. We had 4 council members respond. The average of those 4 responses is between 4.5 to 7%. Is looking at a levy increase. If you remember, our median household value has increased about 9%. Right now, it's a little bit early in finding out what the majority of cities are going at. But feelers out there with about a half a dozen to 9 cities is that they're kind of targeting somewhere in the range of about 6 to 7% as kind of the majority kind of sense and feel of where most cities are at of what, and again, that's a preliminary number, so definitely a lot of discussion from their organizations. Again, the driving factors that were presented, we have total personnel costs, we have an increase in our debt levy. We are going to get some additional local government aid. Our information technology costs have increased. And then CIP, the infrastructure, the items that were shown above, would amount to about a 5.6% increase. After we've met with the department heads, And the city manager put his comments in and made adjustments. We have a preliminary budget right now at 5.5%. So you can see the city is at 5.5. That's including the general fund and debt. Proposing that we, if you remember, last year we eliminated the levy for the HRA. I'm suggesting that we start to increase it slightly over time. And so putting 11,000 into that, and then the EDA staying where it was in 2023. Overall, that would give a levy increase from 2023 of 5.5%. That's where we stand today. The budgets, there's what the revenues and the expenditures of the general fund budget are for right now at the preliminary for 2024. As you can see, the revenues have gone up, so have the expenditures. Obviously, to have a balanced budget, that means we have to levy more dollars, which is shown in the revenues underneath the ad valorem taxes. That's where that 5.5% levy resides. You can see some intergovernmental increase. That's the increase in local government aid, and then estimates for permitting and so forth. You can see down below our expenditures are shown on this table by category of personnel, supplies, contractual services, capital, debt, and transfers. And so you can see the makeup of each and every one of those categories. And then also the next one shows the same revenues, but it shows the expenditures broken down by departments. And that's kind of where we're at with the general fund. In one of the attachments that you have with this packet are all of the general fund budgets, and you have them all the way down to the line item detail. And that will be something that will be presented by the department heads, and for you to ask questions of the department heads on each and every one of those line items, if you so choose to. Additional options that came out of our department head meeting, after we reviewed, we had two separate meetings with all of the department heads, one to look at capital improvement plan together to make sure everybody was in agreement with what was being presented. We also did the same thing with the budgets. And there were some additional items that are not in the budget, but are up for consideration, and there'll be much more dialogue on that, on these items when department heads present their budgets to you. But the list is, I've got the first one of a 1% levy dedicated to CIP. What we will be showing after we go through our discussions with the department heads is a method in which we can try to generate additional funds through the levy to help pay for our infrastructural needs that the city has. And so that'll be coming later. The next item is to combine two part-time code compliance positions into one full-time position in the fire and inspection department. And then there's another item there that is requesting an increase on the on-call firefighters of $3 per hour. And then there's another item that's requesting 1 K-9 and the expenses that are associated with that. Each one of these will show you the dollar amount and also what the potential increase in the levy would be. So if you were to accept all of these, you would move from a 5.5 to a 7.66% levy increase. Now we come to the very exciting part here. And I'm very excited, and I know two council members that have been here during my tenure so far, that when I started, there really was not a comprehensive capital improvement plan. And so in for the first 2 years, developed something and had it in an Excel spreadsheet. We've kicked it up. And so I am going to turn the mic over to Mary Kay because she deserves the credit for all of the hard work, and I would like her to kind of walk you through the changes that we've made, and hopefully you're as excited as I am.
Okay. First, I don't deserve all the credit. All the departments helped a lot with this, as Dan mentioned, and Dan obviously helped lead the project too. So in your attachments, you should have got the new CIP book as a PDF. And so just to give an overview of how it's organized, there we go. Okay, so with the new system, we're hoping that it can provide better reporting, so you have different ways to analyze it, but then we also have more detail that helps get better descriptions and justifications. And so in the CIP book,
By the way, I have a new computer today. Having a little bit of difficulty.
Couldn't have waited till Wednesday. I think this is where the mayor juggles the balls or spins the plates or.
okay, so there's a table of contents, so if you're looking for specific departments, it'll give you an easier way to find the departments. And as you can see, there's also a couple of summary reports at the beginning of the book. So if we go to page 1 to begin with, this just gives a brief overview of some of the information we're collecting on the projects. So every project has a project number. The first part kind of identifies a category, whether it's building, equipment, park, pavement. And then there's a project name, a project description, a justification for the project, the department head that requested the project. Each project was assigned a type, whether it was maintenance, new, a plan or study, or replacement. Each department had provided useful lives for their projects. And then also we asked the department heads to assign a priority, with 1 being critical, 2 being very important, 3 being important, 4 less important, and 5 a future consideration. And so if we go to page 2, this report here is basically just a summary report, and this report is organized by the type of project. And so you can see the first page has the buildings and the capital technology. And then if we scroll to the next page, those are all of the parks, pavement. And then if we scroll down to page 7, you will see that there's a total for the capital projects. So if we look at the 2024, you can see the total requests are just under 5.3 million. And then if you look at the next year, you can see it goes up to over 10 million. So hopefully this just provides a high-level report of the requests that will be out there. So if we go to the next page, these are the exact same projects, just a different way to look at it. Instead of by the type of projects, these are by department. And so first page, community development, electric. And if we scroll to the bottom, you're going to see the exact same totals as the other report. And so then if we scroll down to page 14, here is where we start breaking things down by the department. So you can see page 14 is community development. And if we look at the second line on that page, you can see it's the downtown parking and green space project that was talked about earlier. And so you can see currently it's in the book at $120,000 for next year. And if we scroll down just 2 pages, you can see the detail that Brandy had filled out. So you can see the description, the justification, and in the header, you can see the department, the contact person, the useful life. And so that's kind of how the book is set up. So hopefully it provides that high-level overview, but then it also can help provide more detail if you have questions about specific requests.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Very much, yeah. It's very helpful.
Great job, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think the justifications help. I like the ranking piece of it, or the prioritization piece too, so thank you.
Good. Oh, and I would just say that it is a draft, like on the, where we see like the funding requests, we're still working through them with cash flows to try to figure out what could be afforded by the different funds and different options.
No, wasn't that worth it? That was good. And the two council members that were here to see this as we've gone through, I think we made, leaps
Night and day.
and bounds. Well, yeah, see? There we go.
Wow. Wow. You
Little
do
bit.
you. You do you, Tim.
Well, I thank you very much, because for a finance director, this is as good as it gets. And then additional attachments that are there, again, are the general fund budgets to where we're at today, enterprise and internal service funds. And so really, it's just because of the schedule and so forth, and to be able to approve, the maximum levy for the general fund, HRA and EDA by September, and we missed the first August meeting and so forth, that we really do need to look for some special sessions so we can get the meetings with our department heads. And it's really up to the city council how we want to do that. If we want to try to do all of the department heads in one day, I think that's probably a little bit too much. I think we need to do it and split in 2 meetings that we could go through. And if we get through that, then we would have one more meeting that we could have on a regularly schedule in early September, where basically we will come back with what the decisions from the meetings were, and then have that maximum levy. And again, a maximum levy means that you can bring it down, or you can still have discussions after September. You just can't go up above that component to it. So, so really it's going to be looking at trying to develop some special sessions still here in August. And then, when the department heads present here in August, we will, in addition, we will have the write-ups of the narratives of the departments with some statistical information that will be presented in addition to their budget summaries and their budget line items for you to review, and you'll have that ahead of time before the department head meetings. So it's really looking at what are some dates that could possibly, and we don't need to discuss it today, or how is that? I'm going to turn that over. Jenny, how do we have to decide today, or we can, you're pulling, yeah.
Thank you.
Dan, you seem to be giving us a lot of wonderful information to go over to set this maximum, what is there a benefit to being close on this maximum, or to not just say, there's no way we're not going over 12%, set it at 12% and just?
Well, I think I would try to set something that you believe is reasonable. There's a cause and effect with everything. Whatever we certify as our maximum levy will be included in the truth and taxation notices that'll go up out in November. That means it goes to every resident who owns property. And that's where they will see this huge increase that you're proposing, even though you're really never going to do that. And you'll have, at least I always look at it, you should have a lot of people making comments and coming in here and being upset if you truly aren't intending to do that. So to me, you want to be somewhere in the ballpark of 1% or 2%, no more than that, from where you believe that you're going to end up being. And a lot of that will, I think in the past years depends on, we want to see where our neighboring cities are going and what the trends are. It just, I think, an optics perspective, you don't want to be the one at 25%, where everybody else is at 5%, so.
But there's no penalties associated with, there's no legal ramifications, it's all optics and
Correct.
being fair to our residents.
Yeah, you could set that maximum levy at 20% and then come in at a 5% for the final approval if you would like to do that. Again, my advice would be I would be against it, just from that optics standpoint, and why put alarm into our residents if that's not something that the city's intending to truly do? Because there may be some day that you really do have to raise a significant increase in your levy. And you want our residents to know that we're serious when we look at this. Any other questions, any other comments? And there's a lot of information there, and I just want to take a moment. First of all, I want to thank City Council for all your support that you've given to the Finance Department. We had an item tonight that was the approval of the Tyler technology, which is going to be able to get us to that 2.25% charging on our utilities. In addition to that, they have some additional features which they're actually going to help us do to make it easier for residents to pay. They even have ways that they can do a text to pay. And some other options. So very excited for that and your support and your direction that you've given to the Finance Department. Want to give all the department heads kudos for all the help that they've done on their capital improvement plans and their budgets to date. And then the biggest kudos that I have to give, because I've already given Mary Kay hers, is to our city manager. Our city manager has taken a huge vital role in our development of our budget in meeting with all of our department heads, and without his support, we wouldn't be where we are right now in the process. So I thank you very much, City Manager, and I thank you all, council members. If there's no other questions, I'm going to be done. Isn't that a record? Come on.
I didn't run the timer.
Mean. He looked right at you.
Yeah. Oh, I felt it.
I felt it.
You know I'm just joking.
I do.
No, you're not. It's okay to say no.
Well, thank you for your work and love the CIP.
I look forward to seeing the new technology. Text pay?
Yes.
Venmo?
Let's just baby steps. Come on. But yes, no, I'm excited, and they're willing to help us, and it was fun to negotiate it. From the workshop that we had on the credit cards, we had a certain percentage, and then they turned around and increased those percentages. So we ended up getting it back to where we were, and we got them to hold it for 3 years. So yeah, so it was quite fun and exciting, and yes, Mary Kay has been a fantastic addition to the city of North St. Paul and the finance department, so. And then I love coming up here, I really do, so.
Well, thank you so much for everything. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just,
Thanks, everyone.
just kudos to Dan, to you and the whole department. Since Lisa and I started sitting up here, we were wide-eyed and didn't understand a dang thing you said for about a year. But this has brought it, okay, you're a rapid adapter. But what's been presented is a lot easier to swallow, a lot easier to understand, and a lot of work and effort went into it. So I just want to thank you and your team.
So you're saying we only got 5 months left to play the new card? Is that what you're saying? All right.
Yeah, you get a year.
That's what I said, only have 5
Yep.
months left. I better sharpen up.
You're ahead of the curve.
All right, thank you so much. All right, next, any reports?
Thank you, Mayor. So reports from city manager and departments. I will start off with Dan in Finance. That they've done an incredible amount of work putting all this together, and at the same time training in a new employee, and couldn't be happier with what Dan has done. And I'm excited for you guys to hear the story of his negotiations with Tyler Technology. He did a wonderful job. So yeah, more than busy with the budget process. Public Works has been clearly busy as well with their, they got the mill and overlay done at the Burke, Belmont, Eldridge area. We've been getting a lot of thank yous for that, and everything looks pretty good down there, really good down there. Moving on next to Sean's Way and Diane Street. And what's left from there with this year's budgeted funds, they will look at how much they can do on 16th east of McKnight Road. So they should be able to get for sure from McKnight hopefully to 3rd and potentially even to 2nd, depending on what funding is left over. They have, they're going to be doing this in 3 different stages, but they're going to put a sprinkler system out at Casey Lake by the playground area, so that will be nice to green that up. The student-built house is moving along really well. They believe they just poured the driveway over there. Just a few little things left. They'll be painting, carpeting, and then landscaping, and then they'll be moving on to pouring the basement of the next house over. It's also moving along nicely, yeah. The downtown project, street project, is going well. Even though we could use the rain, it's been very beneficial for them to get a lot of work done during that time. They did have to haul quite a bit of soil and fill out of there that they found to be contaminated. I haven't heard the extra cost for that, being that it had to be sent to a separate landfill for that, but so more to come with that. But the project's moving along well. They dug that out, replaced it back up, got it compacted. Sounds like next Monday they'll be pouring curb, so it's moving along well. The PD has been doing their program for gun trigger locks. They had 200 of them to give away. They've been given away here at City Hall. The foundation was given away at the car show as well. So kind of a nice program. Fire department will be doing some fire extinguisher training for people up here at City Hall coming up soon. Brent will put that on. They're also doing that program of going in and replacing smoke detectors, which is always a well-liked program by our residents. Electric department has been finished up their project of the relighting of the path down on 19th Trail along the lake. That looks really good. Straightened out them lights. Some of them lights were randomly in odd places, so it all came together well. They did some overhead underground rewire behind Sherrell's there over in Oakdale. Of course, a lot of focus has been on the Sepulveda Boulevard for the Lilly project. Still waiting on long lead times on some of the equipment, but we're able to accommodate to make sure the program moves forward. A concern that they have right now is the 8,000 volts power line that runs along Sepulveda, to at least get them moved out over the road Sepulveda, or temporarily put something underground if they can, because they'll have to come in. One of the first things they'll have to do is put pilings along Sepulveda so they don't dig out a big basement and then Sepulveda shears off into the basement area or that dugout area. But it's coming along well. City Hall has their yearly training coming up. Kind of covers like MSDS, ergonomics, bloodborne pathogens, AWARE program. We do that once a year. That's coming up soon. Thank you, Jenny. What else we got? We got the Employee City Picnic coming up here soon, Wednesday, August 9th. We'll be shutting down City Hall from 11:30 to 1:30, so employees can go over there. You guys are certainly invited. Hope to see you there. And that is all I have.
Thank you.
Reports for council, commissions, and committees. Councilmember Norby.
The Planning Commission had their meeting on Thursday, July 6th. I was unable to attend as I was out of town. I've watched the YouTube, and it sounds like they got a lot of nice work done, and there's some information on the web. And their next one is August 3rd.
Thank you much. Councilmember Wong.
Yeah, the Arts and Culture Commission has been quite busy. They're about to launch a phase 2 of the utility wraps. So I think both of them have now been installed, and they're also discussing their budget. And the mural project is going forward. One thing for us to consider is that we had a conversation around for a council is when would council like to have a project or some sort of, come forward to council before, it continues to be developed. Yeah, so just something for us to think about and maybe talk at a workshop or later, but I think that would be helpful in terms of expectations and, do we want to provide input on certain things? So just having some parameters around that. But their next meeting is on, I believe, August 2nd at 6:30 here in the chambers. Thank you.
Thank you much. Councilmember Spear.
Parks and Rec Commission is busy continuously planning their upcoming events. They have food truck night, on Wednesday, July 26th, 5 to 8 p.m. at Housie Park. The same day, their meeting will be in council chambers at 6:30. And don't forget about the event this upcoming Thursday at Casey Lake, Music in the Park at 7 p.m. by the Bazillions.
All right. Thank you much. Councilmember Cole.
We had our EDA meeting on the 11th. There were 3 primary topics: budget conversation for 2024 and what the EDA levy would look like. We also spent a lot of time talking about the proposed vacant space that we just discussed tonight, as far as what recommendations the EDA wanted to make to bring forward to council. And the third topic had to do with the vacant lot across the street from City Hall. They have entertained a proposal to take a look at, and they want to share that with council in upcoming meetings or workshops. Other than that, I think, John, did I cover most?
Yep.
Mayor Mungie, did I cover most items?
Yep. Sure.
Next EDA meeting is 8/8 in council chambers at 3 o'clock.
Thank you very much. General business. Councilmember Norby.
None at this time.
Councilmember Cole. I did it again. I was so good. It was right at.
There's the check mark.
Here's that paper.
It was right at the end. Couldn't wait just 2 seconds to. You're writing it down? Yep.
We have
it's
a
coming.
tally, yes.
Oh, good.
I don't have any new business, but to also go back to the Arts and Culture Commission, one discussion we also had was around the culture component of arts and culture and the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really branching out and looking at how that can be implemented more in the programming space, but then, how can it be, something that resonates throughout the rest of the organization, so it reflects our community.
don't really have anything. We did the fire appreciation dinner last Wednesday. It was lovely to spend some time with all the firefighters and their families. Again, appreciating the fact that these individuals are volunteers. They take time away from their families to serve our city and serve the surrounding cities as well. So it was a very lovely event that Jason put together for everybody.
Member Cole, number 2.
Seems, you can call me Wong. Seems like it's been forever since we've had a council meeting, so we have had a few activities in the community. Had the opportunity to attend the ribbon cutting both at Sweetie's Candy Store as well as Hang Time Boards. That was right prior to the 4th of July. That was a lot of fun. There's a lot of energy in both the new business owners in North St. Paul and a lot of great ideas to come. So I had the opportunity to attend that. You didn't stab anybody, Mayor, with the big giant scissors, so that's a plus.
Yeah, they got a workout 2 in a row.
I want to give a shout out to Ron, Randy, and team at CityWorks, or Public Works, I'm sorry. I met them the 5th of July at Casey Park after the 4th of July. And their group spent the majority of the day cleaning up a lot of our parks here in town. Casey wasn't as bad as prior years, and the park was actually cleaner than prior years, but you scratch your head as to, I mean, people were leaving their coolers with food in them and their grills and just all sorts of stuff that the Public Works went out to clean up. They had to re-rake a few ball fields, so hats off and kudos to Public Works for taking care of that. Councilmember Schwer referenced, I called it the Family Fighter Family Picnic. But we had the opportunity, and I'm sure Carrie has some pictures of the mayor in an apron, so that's a wonderful, cherished thing to hang. And then had the opportunity to visit Carpenter Small Engine Repair, re-grand opening. It's under new ownership. Local North St. Paul individual purchased it, so I had the opportunity to attend that as well. So it's been a busy month.
Yes. A lot of us were at those. Thank you very much. It was great to see the new businesses and carpenters. They're doing a good job of that. One thing I can bring in is when we were at our picnic, there's a lot of little kids. Our town
Lots
has
of
a lot
babies.
of little kids coming. It was really fun to see all the, they come in twos. One had twins. We come in all different. So it was very nice to see their families and how what a great group they are. So I really enjoyed that. And one other note I learned is when we were on that street, 17th is one of the main streets for the firefighters for Maplewood as well. So
There is.
they would, if everybody thinks that North St. Paul's burning down a lot, it's not that. It's just they take that to McKnight and down McKnight, probably because White Bear Avenue is too crowded. So just a little, if people are wondering why they're hearing more sirens, it's their north fire department, and they whip down 17th to McKnight. So just a little, we learned that and we were there. All right?
Can I add one thing?
You sure can.
I got an email. As you all know, I'm part of the pilot program for the food recycling, and it's going to be opening up to all of you. So keep an eye on your emails, and very soon you will be able to put the green bag in your garbage as well.
I saw that note come out as well, and I was excited to see it, and I did want to have a conversation with you just to talk about how easy it was to implement and do.
Absolutely. Happy to have that.
Good deal. Well, we're looking to do a recess?
Yep,
Is that what
Mr.
we're
Mayor,
gonna call for?
my understanding is what the council would like to do is, instead of going to the closed session for the performance review of City Manager Brian Frandl right now, we'd like to go ahead and take care of the HRA meeting and then come back to the review, which I think makes good sense. So if there is a motion to recess this meeting, a motion to recess this meeting to come back into session immediately following the HRA meeting, that would be appropriate at this point in time.
So you want to throw that motion out?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilmember Schwer.
Second.
Second. Councilmember Cole. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then it's
You ready? All right. All HRA meeting, can you please take roll? Do you take roll or for this one as well?
Okay, Commissioner Cole.
Here.
Commissioner Schwer.
Here.
Commissioner Wong.
Here.
Commissioner Nordby.
Here.
Chair Mongi.
Here. All right. Go ahead, Mr.
Action items tonight or for the HRA is, we have the 2024 budget discussion. And we'll turn that over to Brandy Howe, our Community Development Director.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for accommodating the move of the HRA meeting. The one item that we have for discussion tonight, I know this is probably only the second meeting for more than half of you of the HRA. So I did provide in the staff report a little bit of background on the functions of an HRA, the powers and duties that it is given by statute, as well as the programs that the North St. Paul HRA has supported over the years. And just to give you an update on those, or an overview rather, our HRA was established in June of 1971, and since that time, we have supported 3 primary programs. The first is the GHMC Home Program, which provided loans from $2 to $50,000 to assist homeowners maintain and improve their properties. The program was administered by the Greater Metro Housing Corporation, and that program is no longer offered by the HRA. They also funded emergency repair loans between $1,000 and $8,000. And that program assisted low-income homeowners to make a correction to their household if it was in danger of being uninhabitable. The loan recipients were required to meet HUD's 80% AMI threshold, and additionally, that program is no longer offered by the HRA either. The student-built housing program is the third, and that, as you know, is a partnership between the city and the Northeast Metro Career and Tech Center, where students build and remodel homes on city-owned property. That partnership helps improve the housing stock, adds to our tax base, and gives students an opportunity to explore careers in the building and construction trades. So what we've been doing for the past few years, the activities that the HRA has funded has been primarily the student-built housing program, as well as monitoring any of those remaining home improvement and emergency loans. Acquisition for real estate has also been an expense that has been programmed, as well as funding for personnel and overhead expenses to administer the HRA fund. In 2023, there was no levy increase, and in its decision-making last year, the HRA planned to utilize the existing fund balance over other revenue to support those activities. And so in the discussion of the 2024 budget, staff put together a proposed budget. It's in the packet. You'll see that the revenues listed in there are from the anticipated sale of our current student-built house on Eldridge Avenue, as well as investment income. The expenditures that we have listed include personnel costs, supplies, and services that are commensurate with previous budget years. We put down $280,000 for potential property acquisition that would continue to support the student-built housing program. And then finally, there's $20,000 in transfers that was included to the general fund. And that has been proposed in previous budget years, and it was done by the direction of the former city council. So if there are any questions, I could take those. Or if there's any discussion or changes, we're happy to accommodate that.
Any question? Okay. All right.
No, not in regards to the budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything, the only thing that, I don't know, that I've talked to Brian about is now that for our HRA, the last one of our 3 we have left, or excuse me, the student-built housing, is, I'd like us to reach out because now they're working on their foundation of their last lot. And I know that Tom is getting older and we're not sure, so we want to make sure to reach out to say how important this is to our city and how we enjoy this partnership and want to continue forward, because if that's the last leg we have right now of what we're doing with the HRA, I think we need to really get on it and make sure that, and if there is some changes, we need to have time to figure out what we're going to do.
An update on that, I did reach out to Eric to have a meeting with him. That hasn't been set up yet. Unfortunate for us, unfortunate for Tom, it sounds like there was some retirement issues that he might be sticking around a little bit longer, which has benefited us. I mean, he's just spectacular. He's great to work with, very knowledgeable, keeps things moving smoothly, very good with letting us know what's going on, what's coming up. So good for us, though, but as much as he deserves that. So that's the latest I know.
So us would be trying to get another project for the year after next then.
And I've been having discussions with Brandy. We've been looking at a couple of different lots with some ideas, which we'll bring back to you.
Great, good, I'm glad we're going forward. Thank you for checking that out.
Mhm.
I would like to entertain the idea of inviting someone from planning and one from EDA to housing, just because I feel like they have their own insights from their perspectives that would really contribute to how we move this forward. Does that make sense? So, just something for us to really consider. I just think it'll give us a wider perspective.
Suggestion?
Brandy, can you speak to the discontinuation of some of those loan programs? Like,
I tried to look into the history of meeting minutes or council packets to figure out what was the cause of that, and I was not able to find the history. So it's possible that a decision was made. I'm not sure. It's possible that maybe the program is just not administered by that entity anymore. I think there's a similar program that the EDA had with small business facade improvements that we no longer do anymore either. And so I'm in the process of trying to investigate what additional programs, at least for the EDA, are possible. And if there is a desire to direct staff to look into those types of programs for the HRA as well, I could do that.
I mean, I would like to see that. I think it is in our comp plan as well, so I guess it's a little, something for us to really take a look at. Especially since housing's, I mean, our community is majority housing, so.
What I remember from conversation of prior council prior to us, they were discontinued because of lack of interest. No one was applying for anything. And there was prior council just made a decision that if nobody's interested, let's remove those from the table. I would love to entertain looking back at them.
Yeah, I think there are several communities near us that offer. I think Neighbor Works or something like that. They offer that type of programming. So yeah, I'd love to know what's out there.
All right, anything else?
I have a question, and tell me if I'm new, so please help me out. Would it be appropriate if we are looking for another student-built housing project, if Luther is going to put those in the city lots where we ask them to develop 4 and we keep 1 for a student-built lot? Is that?
I know at one time they were talking about using those for student, but that was too big of a chunk for Tom at the time when he was told, we looked at that many years out, but that just scared him a little.
Yeah, that was the issue. They could only do, well, 1 a year, and because there were so many different units that it was passed by. Yeah, it would have taken a long time. And with the transition, we didn't know what was going to go on with Tom and the program itself.
Do we have some other spots you're thinking of?
Yeah, one is, we're looking into making sure that the space works over there on 6th and South.
7th Avenue?
Or 7th Avenue, excuse me, right next to Webster School, right across the street there on the corner. It's an odd-shaped lot. It's kind of a little bit of a pie shape, and I know that, I think they looked into the county before, and they didn't want to allow a drive off of South Avenue, but, so we'd have to look at, and because of the tightness that coming off of Sixth, I just need to dig into it again. It's been a while since we looked at that lot, but we'll see if that can work as one of the options.
I would just kind of like to see the project stay a whole project for the developer, because then it becomes, later on, somebody else is trying to, in the student housing, maybe too slow. That'd be my only thought on that. Hope we can find some more spots.
Mhm. Yep.
Anything else, or look to a motion to adjourn the HRA meeting?
So moved, Your Honor.
Move, Councilmember Wong.
Second?
Second, Councilmember Norby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, how do we get back in ours now?
Mayor, if there's a motion to reconvene the regular city council meeting?
Have a motion to reconvene?
So moved, Your Honor.
Councilmember Wong.
Second?
Second, Councilmember Swear. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Welcome back.
And now that you're back into regular session, Mr. Mayor, I believe the only item left is to go into closed session. What I would ask is that on your agenda, there is language that should be read out loud into the record, and then a motion to go into closed session.
Where is it?
We haven't looked for it.
It's this, right? A?
Yep.
Yeah, would you read it off? While you got it there? I must have closed when I opened up the HRA, sorry.
This meeting will be closed pursuant to the Minnesota statute 13D.05 sub D 3A to conduct a performance review of the city manager, Brian Frandl.
And if there's a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
So move, Councilmember Swear. Second,
Second.
Councilmember Norby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.